What if the real reason you're not where you want to be in life is because you've never truly learned how to control your mind? Think about that. Not your circumstances, not your lack of resources, but your thoughts. The silent, invisible voice that runs nonstop inside your head. That voice can either build you or break you. And most people, they let it break them day after day without even realizing it. Because the truth is, no matter how strong your ambition is, if your mind isn't under control, your life won't be either. You wake up every morning with a million thoughts rushing in, some positive, most negative. You worry about what people think. You replay mistakes. You predict failure before even trying. And it's exhausting. It steals your energy before the day even starts. That's the first war, and it's fought in silence. The problem is nobody teaches us how to win that war. We're taught to chase results, not to master the mindset that creates them. But everything starts in the mind. Every dream, every goal, every victory. It all begins with one thing, a single thought. That's where it lives or dies. And if your mind is cluttered with doubt, fear, insecurity, or anger, it's impossible to move forward with clarity and purpose because you're trying to build a masterpiece on a shaky foundation. That's why people sabotage their progress. That's why they feel stuck. Not because they're weak, but because they've never learned to take back control from their own mind. But here's the truth. You can change that. You can rewire the patterns. You can silence the chaos. You can lead your thoughts instead of being led by them. Because the moment you learn to control your mind, everything else begins to shift. You become less reactive, more intentional. You stop chasing approval and start choosing peace. You stop drowning in problems and start creating solutions. Life doesn't feel like an endless storm anymore because now you control the weather inside you. That's real power. And you don't need a title, money, or a spotlight to have it. You just need awareness, discipline, commitment, and a decision that your mind will no longer be your enemy. It will be your greatest ally. And if you stay with this message, if you lean in and listen all the way through, you're going to understand something most people never do. You'll see how controlling your mind unlocks the door to controlling your mouth, your money, and your destiny. This isn't just a feel-good idea. It's a formula, a blueprint. The same mental control that silences fear is the same one that sharpens your words and strengthens your wealth. The reward? A life of freedom, of direction, of quiet confidence that doesn't need to be proven. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, lost, or out of control, then this is your moment. Because it's not the world that needs to change, it's your mind. And once that's in your hands, everything else will follow. You weren't born with chaos in your mind. That came from the world. From voices that told you who you are and what you're not. From pain that wasn't your fault but became your burden. Over time, those thoughts hardened into beliefs. Beliefs that said you're not enough. That you'll never make it. That success is for someone else. And because you believed them, you acted like them. You started living beneath your potential, shrinking in rooms you were born to own, doubting the very gifts you were given to rise. But just because something was planted in your mind doesn't mean it has to stay there. You have the power to uproot every lie, every self-limiting belief, every toxic thought that tells you to settle, to stay quiet, to give up. You don't owe your old thoughts anything. You don't owe fear your loyalty. And you don't have to carry the weight of what was handed to you. That is your breakthrough. The moment you realize you can take full ownership of a network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help.openai.com today. Because your mind doesn't change when your life improves. Your life improves when your mind changes. And it starts with taking responsibility for every single thought that enters your head. Not all of them belong there. Not all of them serve you. Some were planted by fear, others by failure. Some were shaped by people who couldn't see your worth, so they convinced you to stop seeing it too. But just because a thought is loud doesn't make it true. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. You must become the gatekeeper of your mind. Ruthless with what you allow in. Intentional with what you allow to grow. This is the path to inner power. When you stop letting your thoughts choose you, and you start choosing them. When you stop reacting to life and start directing it. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up already behind. They scroll, compare, worry, regret. And then they repeat. Day after day, week after week. That's not living, that's surviving. And you weren't born to survive, you were born to lead, to rise, to break cycles, not repeat them. But it takes control, mental control, that unshakable decision that says no more. I will not be at the mercy of thoughts that keep me small, because the thoughts you entertain shape your future. Entertain weakness, and you'll walk in fear. Entertain strength, and you'll walk in purpose. You don't need perfect conditions to build a powerful mind. You just need practice, daily effort, the willingness to pause and question the patterns, to replace anxiety with clarity, to trade self-pity for discipline, to remind yourself again and again that you are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the creator of them. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you limitless. Imagine what would happen if every morning you chose power over panic, focus over fear, vision over doubt. What could you build? Who could you become? That's not a fantasy. That's what control looks like. That's what happens when you stop letting your thoughts boss you around, when you start directing them like a leader commands an army, because your mind is not the enemy. It's a tool, a force, a weapon in the right hands, and those hands are yours. You've had the power the whole time, you just forgot. And maybe that's why you're here right now, to remember, to reclaim, to rise above the noise and say, enough. Enough overthinking, enough fear, enough surrendering your peace to things you can't control. It's time to master the one thing that shapes everything, your mind. Control it, and you unlock the first key to everything you've ever wanted. Control it, and you stop waiting for change, because you become the change. You stop living in reaction, because now you live in intention. That's the shift. That's the edge. And it's yours, if you choose it. Control your mind, and you take the first step toward controlling your mouth. Because your words are not just sounds, they are signals. They are commands to your life, your brain, and the people around you. What you speak reinforces what you believe. If your mind is full of fear, your mouth will echo it. If your thoughts are heavy with doubt, your words will carry that weight. And people don't respond to your intentions. They respond to your energy. Your language reveals your mindset. So when you speak, ask yourself, are my words building my future or breaking it down? Most people speak without thinking. They react. They defend. They complain. They release words like weapons, not knowing that they cut deepest when aimed at themselves. I'm tired. I can't do this. Nothing ever works out for me. These aren't just sentences. They're blueprints. Repeating them doesn't just drain your energy, it rewires your brain to expect failure, to settle, to see struggle as normal. But when you learn to take control of your words, everything changes. You stop pouring your power into weakness. You stop reinforcing the very things you're trying to escape. Because the truth is, your mouth can move you forward or hold you hostage. It can either feed the fire inside you or smother it. And you choose that every single day, with every sentence, with every phrase. Control doesn't mean silence. It means strategy. It means speaking life even when you feel doubt. It means using your voice to build, not break, to declare what you want, not what you fear. Your words must serve your mission, not your emotions. That's real control, when your message is louder than your mood. And yes, this takes discipline, because it's easy to vent. It's easy to join in the noise, to match the negativity around you. But greatness is never found in what's easy. It's found in what's intentional. And the most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the clearest. They speak with purpose, with vision, with the kind of certainty that makes people stop and listen. That kind of voice only comes from a mind that's been trained, a mouth that's been disciplined, and a soul that refuses to be average. So ask yourself right now, what story are you telling with your words? What future are you speaking into existence? You don't rise by accident. You rise by decision, and that decision must include your voice. Speak power, not pity. Speak progress, not problems. Speak purpose, not panic. Because when your mouth aligns with your mind, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of person who doesn't just think strong thoughts, but breathes strength into every room, every goal, every challenge. This is not about empty affirmations. This is about alignment, precision, discipline. It's about realizing that your words have consequences. And when you control them, you don't just speak differently. You live differently. You attract differently. You lead differently. And suddenly, the world starts responding to you, because you've finally started responding to yourself with power. When your mind is disciplined and your mouth is aligned with power, the next piece of your life begins to shift, your money. Because money isn't just about numbers, it's about mindset, it's about decisions. And those decisions are shaped by how you think and how you speak. Most people struggle financially not because they lack talent, but because they lack control. They react emotionally to money instead of managing it with clarity and purpose. They chase validation through spending. They avoid responsibility through excuses. And the cycle continues, not because of their paycheck, but because of their patterns. You can't build wealth with a weak mindset. You can't attract abundance while operating in fear, chaos, or impulse. Money flows to those who respect it, not worship it. To those who use it with intention, not insecurity. That means learning to say no when it's tempting to impress. It means understanding that every dollar you control is a vote for the life you're building. But if you can't control your emotions, you'll never control your finances. You'll spend to feel better. You'll invest based on panic. You'll save out of fear, not strategy. And in doing so, you'll keep reinforcing lack, even when opportunity is right in front of you. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're undisciplined, it will magnify your chaos. If you're grounded, it will expand your reach. That's why mastering money starts with mastering yourself. Not just how much you make, but how much control you exercise over what you keep, where it goes, and what it means to you. Because if your self-worth is tied to your possessions, you'll always be broke, no matter how much you earn. Real wealth isn't measured by what's in your wallet. It's measured by your ability to walk in freedom, make bold decisions, and build without fear. Financial freedom isn't given, it's created, and it starts with small, consistent acts of self-respect. Saying no to things that don't align. Saying yes to long-term growth. Having a vision so strong that you stop chasing short-term highs. Money doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to clarity, order, and direction. And when your mind is clear, your words are strong, and your actions are aligned, money becomes a tool, not a master, a vehicle, not a trap. You must learn to move differently, not like the masses, not like the ones who talk success but live in survival mode, but like someone who knows where they're going and refuses to be distracted. Someone who doesn't need to flash wealth to prove worth, because their character already speaks louder than any brand. This is about ownership, about breaking free from the grip of financial fear, and stepping into a mindset that builds, protects, and multiplies. You weren't born to struggle with money. You were born to command it with discipline, wisdom, and confidence. And that begins when you stop chasing more and start mastering what you already have. You can't master your money if you haven't mastered your identity, because your financial habits don't reflect your income. They reflect your internal standards. And your standards are the invisible rules you live by, even when no one's watching. If your standard is survival, you'll always just get by. If your standard is comfort, you'll stop growing the moment it gets hard. But if your standard is greatness, discipline becomes natural, vision becomes non-negotiable, and your choices start matching your potential instead of your past. You stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, does this align with my future? Everything changes when you raise your standard. Not in words, but in action, because your habits follow your identity. When you see yourself as someone who's powerful, responsible, and focused, you start acting like it. You stop tolerating chaos in your calendar, excuses in your language, and leaks in your finances. You become the kind of person who plans, saves, invests, and builds, because that's who you are now. And the deeper you believe it, the more your life bends to that belief. Not because of luck, but because you are finally aligned from the inside out. Your mind, your mouth, and your money are connected. They are not separate lanes, they are one path. The way you think becomes the way you speak. The way you speak becomes the way you act. And the way you act becomes your results. This is why change has to happen at the root. Surface-level motivation won't last, willpower fades, but identity endures. When you shift how you see yourself, everything follows. You stop being a person who tries to be disciplined and become a person who is. And that change, silent, internal, powerful, creates a ripple that touches every area of your life. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up for yourself when it's hard, making the better choice when no one's looking, saying no when it costs you popularity but protects your peace, choosing strategy over impulse. That's strength, that's control. And it's in you, not somewhere out there waiting to be found. You were born with it, but now it's your responsibility to develop it, to sharpen it, to lead yourself with it. Because the world will only take you as seriously as you take yourself. You don't need more time, you need more intention, you don't need more talent, you need more focus. And you don't need permission to step into a higher version of yourself. That door has always been open. What's been missing is your decision to walk through it. No more waiting, no more wishing, no more watching other people win, while you stay stuck in cycles you're strong enough to break. This is your line in the sand. your shift point, your moment to stop reacting and start ruling. Your success will never exceed your self-control. So if you want more, you must become more. It begins with who you decide to be right now. The moment you decide to raise your standards is the moment you begin to separate yourself from the average. Because most people are not living, they're just existing. Stuck in routines they didn't choose, trapped by beliefs they never questioned, moving through life without ever grabbing hold of it. But you're not like most people. You wouldn't be here if you were. You're ready for something more, something real. And that requires ownership. Radical ownership. The kind where you stop pointing outward and start looking inward, where you stop blaming circumstances and start building character. Nothing changes until you do. You want a different life? It demands a different you. Not a temporary version that lasts for a week, but a solid, grounded, relentless version of you that shows up no matter what. The version that stops making excuses and starts creating results. That stops looking for shortcuts and starts doing the hard work that success requires. It's not about being motivated, it's about being committed. Motivation fades, life gets loud, doubt creeps in. But commitment? That's what makes you move anyway. That's what builds momentum when you feel nothing. And that's how greatness is born. In the silence, in the grind, in the moments where nobody's clapping and you keep going anyway. You don't need more motivation. You need a mission. Something bigger than your fear. Something deeper than your distractions. Something strong enough to pull you forward when everything around you tries to hold you back. That's what identity gives you. Clarity, drive, fire. Because when you know who you are, you stop negotiating with pressure. You stop lowering yourself to fit people who were never meant to walk your path. And you stop second-guessing your decisions every time resistance shows up. You stop shrinking and start rising. You are not here to play small. You are not here to impress anyone. You are here to grow, to rise, to lead. But you can't lead others until you learn to lead yourself. And that means doing the things you said you would do long after the feeling is gone. That means becoming immune to distraction and allergic to excuses. It means taking full responsibility for your time, your habits, your thoughts, your words, your money, your life. That's control. And that kind of control builds freedom. Freedom isn't found in escape. It's found in discipline, in focus, in knowing that every action you take is an investment in the life you're building. And the more consistent you are, the more unstoppable you become. You don't rise by accident. You rise by decision, by grit, by consistency. This is how you take your power back. Not in one big moment, but in 1,000 small ones. When you stop waiting to feel ready and just start. When you stop reacting and start choosing. When you stop hoping and start executing. That's where transformation begins. And once it starts, there's no going back. Progress doesn't come from massive leaps. It comes from mastering the little things most people ignore. The quiet disciplines, the small decisions, the subtle shifts in how you show up each day. You don't change your life by hoping for a breakthrough. You change it by aligning your actions with your vision, every single day. Because greatness is not a feeling, it's a pattern. It's how you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's how you think when no one's applauding. It's how you respond when pressure builds, when comfort calls, when excuses whisper. Most fold in those moments. The few, they rise. Discipline is not punishment, it's power. It's the internal code that separates the driven from the distracted, the focused from the frustrated. Discipline means saying no when your impulses scream yes. It means training your thoughts, not letting them run wild. It means honoring your word to yourself, even when your emotions try to convince you otherwise. And that level of self-respect is rare. That's why so few truly win. Because winning doesn't come from talent. It comes from alignment. When your habits, your values, your decisions, and your energy are all moving in one direction, nothing can stop you. You become the storm. But you have to earn that alignment. It's not given. It's built. Built through repetition, through accountability, through looking in the mirror and deciding who you refuse to be anymore. You can't be powerful and passive. You can't be focused and flaky. You can't be driven and disorganized. There's no space for contradiction in a life that demands excellence. So stop negotiating with laziness. Stop making peace with patterns that keep you small. You weren't created to repeat cycles. You were built to break them. Every time you delay your goals for comfort, you weaken your standard. Every time you justify a poor decision, you reinforce a weaker identity. But every time you push through, every time you act with discipline instead of emotion, you carve out a stronger version of yourself, one that thinks clearly, speaks intentionally, builds relentlessly. That version isn't in the future. That version is shaped by what you do today and every day after, not perfectly, but consistently, powerfully, intentionally. This is your edge. While the world chases distractions, you chase growth. While others talk about success, you train for it. While they wait for the right moment, you create it. You don't need more time, you need tighter focus. You don't need external motivation, you need internal standards. The ones that say, I show up no matter what. The ones that say, this is who I am now. When that becomes your truth, everything else aligns. The money, the confidence, the peace, the power, because you're no longer controlled by emotion. You're led by decision. And that's how transformation becomes permanent. When the person you become is no longer a goal, it's your new normal. The reason most people stay stuck is not because they lack information. It's because they lack application. Knowing what to do is easy. Doing it day in and day out, when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when it's hard, that's what separates growth from stagnation. That's where the real shift happens. Not in moments of hype, but in the quiet space where you choose action over excuse. Change is built in repetition, in the decision to rise when you feel like resting, in the refusal to break the promise you made to yourself. Because every time you keep that promise, you become more powerful. You start to trust yourself again. That trust is everything. Without it, you live in fear. You question your worth. You delay your goals because you've taught yourself not to believe your own words. But when you rebuild that trust, you become unstoppable. Because now your thoughts, your words, and your actions are no longer at war with each other. They're in harmony. And that harmony creates momentum. It creates clarity. It creates strength that doesn't rely on emotion. It's anchored in identity. The identity of someone who follows through, who shows up, who doesn't quit. You cannot build a life of freedom with a foundation of inconsistency. If your actions depend on mood, your results will be unstable. If your focus shifts with every distraction, your progress will always be temporary. That's why mastering yourself is the highest form of success. Because when you can control you, there is nothing you can't control. You become the one who doesn't just dream, but does. The one who doesn't just start, but finishes. The one who doesn't just talk about potential, but becomes it. And potential means nothing without execution. It's not what you're capable of that defines you. It's what you do with it. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if you lack discipline, someone with half your ability will pass you by. Not because they're better, but because they're consistent. They've made their growth non-negotiable, and so must you. If you want to rise, you must eliminate the gap between who you say you are and how you show up. No more talking about change. No more waiting for perfect conditions. You either lead yourself now or you stay led by doubt forever. This is the work. Not glamorous, not loud, but powerful. Every choice matters. Every action either builds you or breaks you. You're not just forming habits, you're forming identity. And that identity determines your future. So ask yourself who you're becoming by what you're doing today. Are your actions aligned with your highest self? Or your lowest fears? Are you honoring your vision or sabotaging your progress? The answers are already in your life. Look at your patterns. They're the proof, but the beauty is patterns can be rewritten. And you are the author. You don't need permission, you just need decision, and the discipline to live it daily. If you want to change your life, you must first change your standards. Not someday, not when things settle down. Right now. Because every moment you delay, you train yourself to settle for less. You lower the bar. You make comfort your king and call it peace. But deep down, you know better. You know that peace without growth is just quiet disappointment. You know that comfort without purpose is a slow death. You were built for more, not to live on autopilot, not to follow a script that someone else wrote for you. You were built to lead your life, not just survive it. That starts with responsibility, not just for your actions, but for your reactions. Not just for your choices, but for your focus, your energy, your discipline. It means refusing to let circumstances write your character. It means taking full ownership of your future, regardless of what's happened in your past. There is power in that kind of accountability. It strips away the victim mindset. It kills blame. It forces you to rise. Because when you accept that you are the author, the excuses fade. The fear loses weight. The delay loses its voice. You start creating instead of coping. You start building instead of breaking. This is how success is earned, not with hype, but with habits. Not with emotions, but with execution. The world rewards the ones who move with purpose. The ones who do what needs to be done whether they feel like it or not. That's what separates the committed from the curious, the winners from the wishers. Discipline creates distance, and that distance becomes your edge. While others drift, you dial in. While others react, you respond. While others speak, you act. Control is not about domination. It's about alignment. Controlling your mind means mastering your thoughts before they master you. Controlling your mouth means speaking with intention, not impulse. Controlling your money means living with clarity, not chaos. This is not just success, it's self-respect. It's what happens when you decide that your life matters too much to be lived recklessly, that your energy is too valuable to waste, that your vision is too real to ignore. And it's in the daily, not the dramatic, not the highlight reel. It's in the mornings you get up when you don't feel like it. The moments you keep your mouth shut when ego wants to speak. The choices you make with your money when nobody's watching. That's where it all adds up. That's where transformation is built. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. You become the kind of person who follows through. The kind who no longer needs outside validation because your actions already prove who you are. You earn your own respect. And when you truly respect yourself, you don't chase anything. You attract it because your energy shifts. Your habits evolve. Your presence sharpens. You no longer move through life hoping for success. You move through life knowing you're creating it, one focused decision at a time. The way you speak to yourself determines how far you'll go. Your inner voice is either your power or your prison. It either builds you or breaks you. If your mind is filled with doubt, hesitation, and fear, then no amount of strategy will save you. You'll sabotage your own success before it even begins. That's why mindset isn't just important, it's everything. The strongest people you know didn't get there by luck. They trained their minds to serve their goals, not to question them. They stopped letting their thoughts wander into weakness and began directing them toward strength, toward clarity, toward control. You must protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. The thoughts you allow today shape the results you live with tomorrow. When you let your mind spiral into anxiety, negativity, and self-pity, you poison your potential. You give away your edge. But when you take control of your mental dialogue, you take control of your destiny. You start to move differently. You start to walk with conviction. You stop second-guessing yourself and start acting like someone who actually believes in their own worth. That shift alone can change everything. Because belief fuels behavior, and behavior builds your life. Start noticing the words you use. Not just out loud, but within. Are they words that ignite your strength or feed your fear? Are they commands that drive you forward or doubts that hold you back? You can't expect to build a powerful life with a powerless voice inside your head. Rewire it. Interrupt the patterns that no longer serve you. Challenge the thoughts that tell you you're not good enough. You're not here to play small. You're not here to shrink every time life demands more of you. You're here to rise, to lead, to execute on the standard you know you're capable of. And that requires consistency. You don't reprogram your mind with one positive thought. You do it through daily reinforcement, through repetition, through relentless focus. You feed your mind the same way you feed your body. Consciously, carefully, intentionally. You choose to think thoughts that serve your mission. You remind yourself of who you are, of what you're building, of what you've already survived. You don't let temporary emotions ruin permanent progress. You anchor yourself in truth, not feelings, because feelings are fickle, but your purpose is not. This is the power of internal leadership. When you lead your mind, your mouth follows, your actions follow. Your money follows. Your life follows. Everything becomes sharper. Decisions get clearer. Boundaries get stronger. Discipline becomes natural. You stop chasing results and start becoming the person who produces them. That is the shift. From reaction to direction. From chaos to clarity. From noise to power. When your mind is under your command, everything around you begins to align. Because true control isn't about dominating the world. It's about mastering yourself. And once you do that, you don't just succeed. You become unstoppable. There is a level of freedom that only discipline can unlock. The world tells you to chase ease, to do what feels good in the moment, to follow your emotions like they know the way. But ease is the enemy of excellence. Comfort is the trap that catches the average. If you want to rise, you must learn to choose what strengthens you, not what soothes you. You must train your nervous system to stop craving escape and start craving structure. Because structure isn't confinement, it's liberation. It removes the guesswork. It eliminates the chaos. It makes space for progress, for clarity, for power. The strongest version of you isn't hiding behind motivation, it's built in the daily grind, in the moments when nobody's watching and you still choose discipline. It's when you wake up and honor your commitments, even when your body begs for rest. It's when you shut down the voice that says not today and replace it with I said I would. That's where real confidence comes from, not from talking, not from planning, but from doing. When you start keeping your word to yourself, you stop doubting your ability to win. Because deep down, you've already proven that you will. This is the secret most people overlook. They chase intensity over consistency. They want quick results, instant validation, fast wins. But true growth is never instant. It's forged through repetition, through the slow burn of persistence. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent, because consistency compounds. It takes your smallest actions and turns them into massive outcomes over time. But only if you stay the course. Only if you stay grounded in who you said you would be when no one else is holding you accountable. The mirror doesn't lie. It reflects your habits, your choices, your discipline. It shows you what you've prioritized, whether intentionally or not. And if you don't like what you see, you have one job: change the inputs. Stop blaming the world for the results you're producing. Start taking radical ownership of the energy you bring, the time you waste, the excuses you entertain. No more giving your power away to distraction. No more hiding behind the illusion of someday. The clock is ticking, and the world isn't waiting. You either level up, or you live in regret. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You don't need to know everything. You need to start. Every moment you hesitate, you train your brain to retreat. Every time you execute, you rewire it for strength. You are building the blueprint of your life with your habits, brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice, and every brick matters. So move with intention. Live like it matters, because it does. This is your life, and the way you show up each day is the loudest message you'll ever send to the world about who you are. Let that message be one of power, discipline, and unshakable purpose. The way you speak out loud is a direct reflection of how you speak within. If your words are weak, scattered, or careless, it's because your mind is undisciplined. And if your mind is undisciplined, your life will be too. Every sentence you speak either plants a seed or poisons the soil. You are creating your world with your mouth. The energy you release returns. If your language is filled with limitation, your reality will reflect those boundaries. But if your words are rooted in conviction, clarity, and courage, you will see the world begin to shape around that inner certainty. This is not theory, it's reality. Your voice is one of your most powerful tools. Learn to use it with purpose. Stop using your mouth to explain your doubts. Stop using it to describe your weaknesses. You were not given a voice to narrate your limitations. You were given a voice to declare your intention, to set a tone, to communicate with power, not permission. People don't follow noise, they follow certainty. When you speak, are you leading or are you asking for approval? Are you speaking your truth or are you softening it for comfort? Every time you compromise your voice, you dilute your impact. Strength isn't about being loud. It's about being aligned. When your words match your values, when your tone matches your mission, you become undeniable. There is nothing more powerful than a person who speaks with clarity and restraint. You don't need to prove your strength through volume. You prove it through control. A powerful voice is not reactive, it's intentional. It doesn't speak to win arguments, it speaks to express truth. It doesn't talk just to be heard. It talks because it carries weight. Train yourself to pause before you speak. Let silence become your filter. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every emotion deserves a reaction. The more you master your mouth, the more respect you command, without even trying. Your voice can open doors, but it can also burn bridges. It can build confidence, or it can tear it down. You decide. The next time you speak about your future, listen carefully. Are you saying what you truly believe? Or are you repeating what fear wants you to believe? Are your words building momentum or draining it? Most people speak as if their dreams are optional, as if their goals are distant hopes instead of current responsibilities. That's why nothing changes, because they talk with hesitation instead of certainty. If you want to change your life, change how you speak about it. Change the words, change the tone. Speak with the authority of someone who knows where they're going. Your mouth is not just an outlet, it's a mirror. It reflects the state of your mind. And once you take control of your words, you start to take control of your world. Use your voice like a weapon of purpose. Speak like every word carries your future, because it does. What you allow in your mind becomes the blueprint of your future. Every thought you entertain has power. Every internal conversation becomes a silent architect of your actions, your habits, and your outcomes. You cannot afford to think casually about the way you think. The quality of your life is shaped moment by what you choose to believe, accept, and repeat inside your head. And most people never stop to question it. They run on autopilot, living in a loop of limitation, never realizing their thoughts aren't facts, they're patterns. And patterns can be broken. You are not stuck. You are programmed. And you have the authority to rewrite the code. The mind is not your enemy, but it can be if left untrained. It will pull you toward fear, distraction, doubt, and hesitation. It will fixate on the past, distort the present, and dread the future. It will whisper 1,000 reasons to quit, 100 excuses to delay, and 12 lies to justify staying the same. But here's the truth. Your mind only becomes powerful when you learn to discipline it, when you stop feeding it garbage, when you stop allowing every fear, every insecurity, and every negative opinion to live rent-free in your head. Because what stays in your head begins to shape your identity. You must take back control. You must become the gatekeeper. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion is worth exploring. The strongest minds in the world are not the ones without fear. They are the ones who learn not to obey it. Emotional strength is not about suppression. It's about precision. It's about knowing when to feel and when to focus, when to pause and when to push. And that clarity only comes from training. You must train your mind like an athlete trains their body, every day without exception. Mental discipline is the foundation of personal power. It's what separates the person who starts from the one who finishes, the person who reacts from the one who responds, the person who survives from the one who thrives. You can't build anything great if your mind breaks under pressure. You can't lead anyone else if you're still a slave to your own thoughts. You must rise above the noise. You must filter your focus. You must guard your energy, because if you don't control your mind, something else will. Your fear, your past, or the opinions of others. Your thoughts are your internal command center. If they are scattered, so will your results be. If they are intentional, your direction becomes clear. Speak to yourself like someone you respect. Feed your mind with the language of strength. Direct your thoughts like they matter, because they do. You are either building yourself or breaking yourself with every word you think. So think like a leader. Think like a winner. Think like someone who refuses to be defeated by anything less than their full potential. There is a direct connection between your inner world and your outer wealth. If your mind is cluttered, your finances will reflect it. If your emotions are chaotic, your money will slip through your fingers. Financial mastery begins with self-mastery. Until you learn to control your impulses, your desires will always outrun your discipline. Until you understand the value of restraint, you'll trade long-term gain for short-term pleasure. This is why most people stay stuck. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's because they sabotage it. They get a raise and increase their spending. They start a business but let fear dictate every move. They chase money but don't respect it. And without respect, money always leaves. Wealth is not about having more, it's about becoming more. It's not about the amount in your account, it's about the habits behind it. It's about how you think when no one's watching, what you do when no one's clapping, and how you manage the silent moments where nobody sees your sacrifice. Every dollar you earn is a reflection of your mindset. If you operate from fear, your financial decisions will reflect scarcity. If you operate from confidence, your actions will reflect growth. The patterns are always psychological before they're practical. Money flows to those who are prepared, disciplined, and intentional. Not to those who merely want it, but to those who are ready to manage it. You don't rise financially by chance. You rise by design. You rise by making decisions that your future self will thank you for. You stop wasting money trying to look successful and start building systems that create real stability. You stop buying things to impress people who don't care, and you start investing in your peace of mind. You begin to understand that wealth is not about accumulation. It's about alignment. Alignment with your values, your purpose, and your long-term goals. You learn to say no to distractions so you can say yes to freedom. And the greatest financial power is not in how much you make. It's in how much control you have. Control over your emotions, control over your spending, control over your vision. The moment you take full ownership of your financial behavior is the moment everything begins to shift. You stop blaming the system, the economy, or your upbringing, and you start building, slowly, deliberately, and with conviction. Every disciplined choice compounds. Every responsible decision moves you closer. And while others live paycheck to paycheck, you build layer by layer, foundation by foundation, towards something unshakable. Money doesn't make you free. Discipline does. Awareness does. Control does. You can't master money if money is still mastering you. If your self-worth rises and falls with your balance, you're still a prisoner. Real wealth is internal first. It's the confidence to walk away. It's the peace of knowing you're not dependent on anyone else to survive. Build that. Prioritize that. Because when your mind, mouth, and money move in alignment, success doesn't become a question. It becomes a certainty. Freedom begins the moment you stop chasing validation and start chasing values. It begins when you stop speaking to impress and start speaking with intention. Every word that leaves your mouth shapes your identity. It either aligns you with power or it weakens your presence. People remember how you speak because it reflects how you think. If your words are reactive, scattered, and impulsive, people feel it. If your words are grounded, intentional, and few, people respect it. Silence, when used wisely, becomes louder than noise. The most powerful person in the room is rarely the one who talks the most. It's the one who speaks last, with purpose, precision, and clarity. Your words reveal your self-control. They are evidence of how well you govern your mind. When you gossip, complain, or blame, you give your energy away. You hand your power to circumstances. But when you speak life, when you express discipline, when you articulate with conviction, you take command. Mastery over your mouth is mastery over your energy. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they leak energy through words that don't serve them. They waste time explaining themselves, defending their egos, or proving something to people who don't matter. That's not strength. That's distraction. If you truly want to grow, speak less and listen more. Observation is power. Listening sharpens your edge. While others are rushing to respond, you learn. While they talk, you study. You see what they miss. You hear what they ignore. You understand not just what's said, but what's unsaid. That's what makes you sharp. That's what gives you the edge. You stop reacting to every comment, every opinion, every slight. You learn that silence is a weapon. Silence unsettles those who rely on attention to feel important. And in that silence, you find control. Not everything deserves your voice. Not everything deserves your energy. Guard your words like you guard your time, because once they're out, you can't take them back. Speak only when your words add value. Speak when your voice builds, not breaks. Speak when silence would do more harm than truth. And when you do speak, let it be clear, calm, and firm. Don't speak to be liked. Speak to be understood. Don't speak to fill space. Speak to move purpose. Because when your words match your values, people feel your presence before you say a word. You walk into a room with certainty, not noise. That's how power is felt. Not in volume, but in conviction. Words build worlds. Speak yours carefully. Speak them from a place of alignment, not emotion. Every powerful person has mastered the art of restraint. Every disciplined leader has learned that silence can solve what shouting never will. When your mind is still, your voice becomes a tool, not a weapon. And when your voice aligns with your vision, your path becomes unstoppable. Master your mind, guard your mouth, and everything you touch will begin to rise with you. If you can control your mouth, you are already ahead of most people. But if you can also control your money, you separate yourself from almost everyone. Money is not just a tool, it's a mirror. It reflects your habits, your mindset, your discipline. Most people don't have a money problem, they have a control problem. They spend to impress, not to progress. They use money to chase validation, not freedom. And then they wonder why they stay stuck. You can't build wealth if your emotions spend faster than your values save. Financial power is not about how much you earn. It's about how you manage what you have. It's about making decisions today that will serve you tomorrow. Your money will either work for you or own you. There's no in-between. When you lack control over your finances, it bleeds into every area of life. It affects your choices, your peace, your opportunities. It places you in survival mode, where short-term thinking suffocates long-term vision. But when you learn to manage your money with wisdom, something shifts. You walk differently. You think more strategically. You say no to the unnecessary, so you can say yes to the meaningful. That is freedom. That is strength. That is how you move from scarcity to sufficiency. Discipline with money is not about deprivation, it's about direction. Every dollar has a job. Every expense is either building your future or stealing from it. When you stop chasing pleasure and start prioritizing purpose, your money becomes your ally. You no longer need instant rewards to feel worthy. You realize that security is more powerful than status, that peace of mind is more valuable than a flashy lifestyle, that freedom is built in silence, not performance. And the people who truly understand this don't need to show it. They live it, quietly, consistently, powerfully. When you treat money with respect, it responds, it multiplies under the care of discipline. It grows in the soil of self-control. It rewards the one who waits, plans, and sacrifices. And the truth is, wealth is not about luck, it's about behavior. It's about how you think, how you act, how you respond when no one's watching. Your financial future is built in your daily decisions. It's in the choice to budget, the choice to invest, the choice to delay gratification for a bigger win. You don't rise financially by chance, you rise by choice. The same mind that controls your thoughts and your words must also master your money. Because when all three are aligned, your mind, your mouth, and your money, you become unshakable. You gain influence not from noise but from results. You gain respect not from image but from integrity. And you gain freedom not from fantasy but from focus. So tighten your grip, elevate your standards, protect your resources, because nothing changes until you do. And when you rise with discipline in all three areas, life stops happening to you. You start happening to life.